Stray Arrow. Written by Your Local Muffin. Read by Arashi. Ashe can't believe his ears when he hears his adopted father has betrayed the kingdom. When he's assigned to a group of archers to go down to Magrid, he does so without hesitation. He must do his duty as a knight. But something more pressing keeps lingering in his mind. He needs to know why. Now that he's here and the battle is currently in the Empire's favor, he knows he has to act fast. He enters the battlefield, armed and ready to charge. When he spots his father, he raises his voice as loud as he can to get his attention. "How could you betray His Majesty?" Ashe yells, pointing his bow in his father's direction. "How could you betray me?"
"Ashe, you came here for me?"
Lonato pauses. The hesitation in his voice is clear, and Ashe swallows. Will he be able to strike down his father? Deciding to ignore his doubts, he sends his troops forward to surround Lonato. Perhaps he will be able to beg for forgiveness for patricide in the afterlife. But for now, he has a mission. Lonato betrayed the kingdom, and he must pay for his transgressions. Charging through the bases, Ashe keeps his pose ready for the fight of his life. The Imperial army follows, making it clear they're here to defend Lonato. When a loud axe wielder, what was his name? Casper, he believes, swings in his direction, Ashe knows he has no choice. "Charge!" Ashe screams as his small battalion raises their own arrows. There's a spark of hope as the arrows pierce the Imperial army, even getting a few kills in. That's until Shez comes in, slicing down his archers. Ashe dodges and tries to focus on Lonato. It's clear the generals are carrying the battle. It's clear Ashe cannot break through them. He's soon struck down from a blow to his back, making him stumble forward onto the ground. He's forced up, a sword raised to his neck. The Queen of Brigid leers at him, as if she's caught a defenseless rabbit in her grasp. As the rest of the Imperial army surrounds his surviving troops, he knows it's over. Closing his eyes and drawing his last breath, he repeats a silent prayer in his head, hoping somehow it'll reach those who it needs to. "Dedu, I'm sorry." "Wait, Shez, stop it, Ashe. You're throwing your life away." The Queen of Brigid lowers her sword, stepping back just a bit, but keeping the blade pointed at Ashe's chest. Her threat is clear. If he tries anything, "Do you want Lord Lonato carrying that weight around for the rest of his life?" Though it's a low blow, Ashe realizes where the mercenary is going with this. Lonato's motivations must have had something to do with Kristoff and this brutal execution. Well, what is it?" The Queen of Brigid leers at him. "You're right. I surrender." Ashe gets out before lowering his head. The other archers gasp before the Empire's attention is turned to another threat on the battlefield. When he looks up, it's Lonato, holding his shoulder with a frown on his face.
"Ashe, forgive me, but I could not bear to lose another son. Come, let's get your wounds healed."
Ashe finds himself pointedly avoiding everyone. He can't bring himself to make conversation with the chatty Casper, or even sit beside Linhart. They do try to engage, but Ashe isn't interested. He's still processing his horrible decision, trying to keep his head up in the worst of times. He finds solace in the cat that's been following him around. Actually, Shez isn't too bad either, considering they both have very similar backgrounds. They recently just sent a letter together to see if they can find their adoptive mother. It's not enough to make a strong bond, though. At the end of the day, he knows these former schoolmates of his are human, just like him. He just can't bring himself to do more than what's required of him. The guilt of betraying his kingdom is too much, and it's been consuming his thoughts. Now that he's here, he just focuses on training to make sure not to anger the Emperor. He doesn't trust her, and from what she's picked up on, some of her troops don't either. She's a shady, impulsive woman that only cares about her goals, not who she has to put in harm's way. Even with the Gloucester territory betraying the Empire, he does hear the Emperor ask that if anyone is willing to be reasonable, she will spare them. Ashe can't decide if it's because she's an altruistic person who realizes the harm she's created, or because she needs more troops. In all honesty, he wonders if it's both. Even with her moments of humanity, he can't fathom why Lonato wanted to side with her. He knows his anger at the Church is undeniable for what they did to Kristoff, but there must have been another way. They still haven't gotten the truth about the circumstances of his death, and Ashe has a sinking feeling the Emperor actually doesn't know. He's being sent to the front lines along with Casper, Constance, Petra, and Shez. He knows a few of their hobbies by the time they make it to the Alliance, but those connections still don't naturally form. His thoughts keep clouding his ability to even try to get close. When Lord Lonato tries to chastise him for it, Ashe says nothing and leaves the tent without bursting out anything he'd regret in rage. So, he focuses on his missions. Each battle, he just tears through each lord trying to ambush the army. Ashe doesn't take names. He doesn't try to get into the political side of things. He knows if he had to, he couldn't bear to hurt anyone that's opposed to the Empire with good cause. Even as he marches and his efforts are praised, he can't press his resentment down. He did this for Lonato. Yet, he still made the worst mistake of his life. "We are defending the Silver Maiden's walls. The kingdom has already gotten in," the Emperor begins her speech, raising her axe. "We are to save Count Rowe, also. Now, in formation! We must not falter with victory so close in our grasp." Count Rowe is a notorious two-faced snake, though. If they don't make it in time, Ashe is sure he will change sides. Hopefully the Emperor knows that. If not, she's sure to find out how fickle his loyalty truly is. With that, the ambush began, and it's clear King Dimitri has everything planned perfectly. Soon, everyone is in disarray, trying to assemble the traps, and a lot of screaming from Constance. For some reason, she's in a good mood, boasting about how she will single-handedly save the army. Ashe just presses on. With his bow, he takes another stronghold. Before he continues to the next one, Yuritsa, one of the Academy's former professors, rushes past Ashe. "What's wrong?" Ashe calls out. Yuritsa is not usually one to charge like this in front of him. "Mercedes. She's up ahead." Yuritsa says no more as he rushes into the fort. It's his battle, then. It's a relief to Ashe, because he couldn't bear to confront the kind-hearted Mercedes himself. Ashe charges through the edge of the Silver Maiden, dismantling the Pegasus Knights one by one. Their pain screams are so much to bear, so he just focuses on Casper's new boast to keep his mind distracted. Once he pulls the final lever to dismantle the trap, there's a scream. It sounds familiar, but he can't put his finger on who it is. There's a lot of names to remember, after all. "Count Rowe has betrayed us," Hubert hisses at the troops. "We must ambush him and make him pay." So Count Rowe is now an enemy of both the Empire and the Kingdom, and he is far too much of a wild card to be trusted. He needs to be stopped. "I'll do it," Ashe agrees, "before things get out of hand." "Very excellent. We're counting on you." Hubert turns to order more troops. "Come on, I'll help you out," Casper calls, grabbing his shoulder with a confident nod. This isn't new. They're usually paired together, and it would be good to have backup in case something goes terribly wrong. Perhaps he can just strike down Count Rowe and make his exit before he runs into Dimitri. When he gets there, Casper is already attacking Count Rowe without any hesitation. He does have more of an advantage. Drawing his bow, he attacks some more troops attempting to surround the duo, before he fears someone clearing their throat. Ashe. Exactly who he was trying to avoid. "I know, Your Majesty." Ashe swallows, not even looking in His Majesty's directions. "I have nothing to say for myself." At that moment, he wants to be like Count Rowe, defect again and swear to never leave the kingdom behind. Though, before he can say anything, it's clear he has no choice when His Majesty swings his lance down, and Ashe barely dodges it. So, there are some crimes that can never be forgiven. Biting his lips, Ashe points his bow forward, ready to defend himself. Unleashing the first arrow, it flies in His Majesty's direction. He knows the bow won't be enough for the brute strength that Dimitri has, but he has to try. The lance nearly hits his head, and in that small moment his attention is diverted. It's Casper who blocks the next attack from the king. "Thank you. Anything for my good pal Ashe." Casper swings at the king and gives a thumbs up. It's a quiet gesture they've created, now that they've worked together for so long. He'll take care of this. Ashe nods, deciding to go after a Pegasus Knight he doesn't personally know, and pulls the bow. She screams, toppling over with another cry. There's another person who joins them, a young woman from the Leicester Alliance. Marianne, he believes. The icy chill from her attacks surrounds Ashe. Why had she attacked him? When he turns, he's met with his worst nightmare. Dedue, frozen in place with his axe above his head, ready to strike Ashe down. Ashe shakes, staring back. Dedue, his best friend. He wants to flee right there and then, but as another Pegasus slides in, he decides to defend his place and move away from Dedue. He truly cannot bring himself to lock eyes with him. "Come, we're surrounded. We must go," His Majesty calls out. Dedue, now thawed out from Marianne's spell, pauses with a sad look in his eyes. Ashe wishes he hadn't looked. He wished it was anger, rage, something that Ashe could lash out at and not regret. But all that's there is a pained apology. It's a permanent goodbye. Before Ashe can say anything, Dedue is gone. Ashe buries his emotions, turning back his focus to the battle. Now, it's about survival. I'll stand in your place as you flee. Ashe's heart sinks, again hearing that familiar voice. His fellow knight, Ingrid, flies with a fury of anger he's never seen from her before. After a brief dispute, Dedue drags the king away to safety. Ashe can't face anyone else. Turning his focus, Ashe lets the arrows fly to the others attempting to attack him. Then, a horrific cry. Ashe almost doesn't want to look, but he forces himself to. Ingrid is collapsed on the ground, arrows in her body. Blood is pooling around her, and her white Pegasus. He knows he's the only archer in the vicinity. Looking down, he knows it's his actions that caused this catastrophe. All it took was a few stray arrows. Glenn, I'm so sorry, Ingrid whispers, reaching out her hand. Ashe leans down, taking it as tears stream down his face. He opts to say nothing as the light fades from her eyes, and her hand is limp. Ashe bites his lip, trying not to wail as he trembles in place. He just killed one of his friends. Oh, hell yeah! We won! Casper, hush. Marianne's voice barely raises, but she sounds frustrated. Oh no. With that, his two allies walk over. It's Marianne near him first, placing a gentle hand on his back and trying to ground him. Casper is next, grasping his shoulder and getting him back on his feet. Ashe wants to thank them, but nothing comes out except a choke from the back of his throat and a stream of tears. He knows he's a soldier, but he stumbles on the first step and begins to weep. Before he can hit the ground, Casper's arms are open, and he wraps his arms around Ashe's frame. Hey, it's okay. I got you. Casper pats his back. I'll calm him down. Marianne, you tell Edelgard we defended the Silver Maiden. Got it. Marianne nods. I'll be back, Ashe. I promise. With that, she runs away. His vision is still blurry as he steps away from Casper's hug, trying to get himself back up on his feet. With a couple more choked sobs, he wipes his eyes and looks forward. A knight doesn't cry. Though, by this point, can Ashe really call himself a knight?